Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Jose here, welcoming you to another episode of Amazing Worlds. So first of all, I would like to thank you all very much for engaging so much with the last video I did on my review of different people's suggestions for beginners getting into the fantasy genre. So really appreciate the engagement there. Thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you for your contributions. It was fantastic. It was great. And today I wanted to do the second part of that video. There's a couple more lists, just two more lists that I want to review as well and offer my thoughts and opinions on why I think those suggestions may be or may not be actually that recommendable for new readers in the fantasy genre. And actually one of them has given me a lot of food for thought. So let's dive into it, shall we? So the first list I want to look at is the Huffington Post top fantasy books to get any beginner interested in the genre. So here we go. And first one in the list is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I suppose it could have been that. In the previous lists we had Neverwhere. I've talked about American Gods. So I guess that Neil Gaiman, yes, is a recommendable book. Any of his books probably is recommendable to any new beginner in the genre. Again, not super high fantasy, but definitely a pathway, a gateway into urban fantasy and introducing elements of the otherworldly to people that maybe just don't read that on a general basis. Then we've got A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I'm not familiar with it. Again, as I said, I've come to realize possibly urban fantasy is not something I'm very well versed in. So I'm not going to cast my opinion. I probably should read a lot more about it. This is making me think that maybe I should. But again, here, book one of the All Souls trilogy, I wouldn't necessarily recommend someone to get started in a trilogy. That may seem quite daunting. I've talked about this before, so maybe no. Next, another trilogy, Magicians by Lev Grossman is a title I keep seeing popping up. Same thoughts, same opinions. Stardust by Neil Gaiman is the next one in the list. I wouldn't do two of the same author to someone. And Stardust actually perhaps a lot more for younger readers that maybe Neverwhere or American Gods. Because I have read Stardust and you can read it in one evening, one afternoon type thing. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I keep seeing her name around. I'm quite put off by the cover, to be honest. Not that I got anything against young adult fantasy, female lead characters and all that stuff. It's just that whatever girl they've chosen for is too pretty, too clean cut, it's sending the wrong message to me. I could be very wrong. I haven't read it, so let me know. Here we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I said this before, I'm never ever going to recommend someone to get started in fantasy by picking up first of all a trilogy and secondly a trilogy that is not even finished and doesn't have a publication date. So not at all, no. The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen is another trilogy, so you know where I stand with that. Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. Maybe, because it looks to be like a standalone novel, so perhaps maybe I should investigate myself. Let me know if you've read, if you're familiar with it. Then we've got The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Epic fantasy, sounds good to me. So it looks good. Magicians having some sort of wager type thing, maybe. Intriguing. And finally, the last book in the list is The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. I will definitely recommend this to anyone. I know what I've said about series being unfinished, but the beautiful thing about Lies of Loch Lamora is that it works perfectly well as a standalone novel. Yes, there are 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 books planned after this, but you can read Lies of Loch Lamora, really enjoy it, and leave it there if you want. And if you're intrigued and you're hooked, you can pick the rest. But that's that's where that's my take on this list in the Huffington Post. The other list I've picked up to cast my eyes, have a gander. This came up when I did the search. 20 books for the new fantasy reader by Barnes and Noble. Obviously, they got bias; it's going to be their authors. But let's have a look all the same. Here we have Night Circus again. So if it's coming up a couple of times, maybe there's something to it. Yeah, maybe you should pick it up. Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. Again, it's a recurring theme. I think we can all agree that maybe Neil Gaiman should be on any recommendation. Wizard of Earthsea, I've said this before in the previous video. No, just leave it out. It's just not what you think it is. It says here that it is on par with the works of Tolkien and Lewis. No, it's not. It really isn't. I mean, it's very popular, don't get me wrong, but it really is not what people may think it is. Winter Song by S.J. Jones. I don't know. No idea. Let me know. I don't know. Name of the Wind. Again, I'm not going to repeat myself. Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. It's a novella. Maybe. Home for Wayward Children. Enchanted Wardrobes and all that stuff. Sounds a bit Narnia-ish to me. Maybe not. That doesn't make me want to pick it up. It's what I'm trying to say, I suppose. The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. A little bit of contemporary fantasy, a little bit of magical realism. I don't know. Not fun. It doesn't sound like fantasy enough to me, but I haven't read it, so please let me know if I'm wrong here or if I definitely should. Tigana by Gabriel K. This looks like Tigana is a novel of the name of the author I've come across before somewhere, and quite possibly I should give it a read, particularly if it's a standalone novel. Maybe. Because he's talking about world of fantasy, enchanting example, blah blah blah, world building, realized fantasy. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna get involved myself with this. Next in the list is The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I think, again, it's a trilogy. I wouldn't recommend it, but I think Ian at B&B Books, correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, but I think you mentioned it recently in one of your videos. And I think you recommended it, maybe from my perspective, for length reasons, not for the new reader, but perhaps when we are done with The Wheel of Time. Next, we have Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Children's fiction. I'm not going to recommend that to anyone. To children, maybe. To children, I haven't read it. Is it good? What can you tell me? Next, Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. I'm starting to get a feel here. There's a lot of female authors, nothing wrong with that, in the urban fantasy subgenre there, not in the, whereas fully fledged epic fantasy seems to be more dominated by male authors. Here, we seem to have a lot more female authors, so interesting. Next is The Magicians by Lev Grossman. We've talked about it. Maybe, but it's a series. This is the problem, isn't it? You cannot scare someone with, here, you gotta read this. It's too much. Next, Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett is so unique that you gotta tread carefully here, because it may give someone the wrong impression altogether. It is really, really good from my perspective. I'm a big fan of Terry Pratchett. Check out my intro to Discworld video that I did. But it's very unique. It's his own thing. And if people go out there trying to find more of the same, they're not going to find it. So Terry Pratchett, Small Gods. No, I would actually recommend Guards. I may add Guards in there for something different. Next, what have we got? Borderline by Michelle, funky spelling Baker. Well, this is another urban fantasy, it's another series, so I'm gonna say no to too much. I think the 20 books is too long for for a beginner into fantasy. You give him maybe 3, 4, 5 books, I don't know. Next, 3 Parts Dead by Max Gladstone. The Craft Sequence is another series. No, isn't it? Blah, 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 blah. Fantasy subgenres, half a dozen science fiction. I don't know. Tara is a newbie at her international necromantic firm. Seems a bit in line with what have I been reading? Come on, Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, isn't it? That sort of thing. Maybe, but I suppose if you send someone down the urban fantasy thing, you can get as much lost in there as you can get lost in high fantasy. So go figure. Next in the list, Lies of Locke Lamora, I've already mentioned. Definitely, when I do my own list of my recommendations, I think Locke Lamora is going to be number 1. Next in the list, we have A Stranger in Olondria by Sofia Samatar. I don't know. I think this is Barnes and Noble pushing forward their authors on the new releases. I don't know. Again, Discovery of Witches is come up again. Maybe there's something to it. Is this something? I don't know. Let me know. Are these books written by women with witches as protagonists? Is this something that appeals to women more than men? Am I being ever so slightly biased here in my take? Let me know. I don't know. I look at it. Let's read the blurb. Harkness's All Souls trilogy often earns comparisons to the prolific and voluminous Outlander novels. The parallels are obvious between 2 epics of time travel and romance. You see, so maybe it is aimed at women. They tend to like romance more than men. But for those just beginning to chart across in fantasy, A Discovery of Witches provides a more bite-sized introduction as it chronicles the accidental adventures of Diana Bishop, a scholar and unwilling witch. Maybe. Ladies, give it a go. Gentlemen, give it a go if that's your thing. To me, it doesn't sound that appealing, but that's my personal taste, each to their own. Next, Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. Funky spelling of Cordova. Cordova is actually a Spanish city. It's spelled with a B, not with a V. And I believe there's another one in Argentina, but anyway. YA fiction for... there's a lot. And the next one, Shadow Shaper by Daniel Jose. I don't know. It's another series. Brooklyn Bruja series. There's too many series, too many witches series. Is it all a bit derivative then? How can you have in a list of 20 3 different series about witches? I mean, right? I don't know. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. That's one of those where... Is this more of the same? It's just set in London, isn't it? I keep hearing about it. I'm going to repeat myself here with the whole urban fantasy thing. I haven't read it. I'm not that intrigued by it. I think the problem with this list is that apart from Locke Lamora, maybe Tigana, maybe 100,000 Kingdoms, but there's 3, 4 Patrick Rothfuss, Earthsea, 5. There's only 5 out of the 20 books that are really high fantasy. That seems like a very skewed list, in my opinion, of course. So I don't know. I think Barnes & Noble, you've missed a trick here, or your publishing line policy seems to be slightly biased towards a certain genre, a certain type of author, a certain type of audience, namely the female one into witches. But anyway, that's what I've got for today. I'm not going to do any more list reviews things. This was meant to be a trilogy, right? I do 2 reviews and then I will give my list. It's just, trilogy. what am I doing? I don't know. Fantasy books come in trilogies. I thought that fantasy list reviews should come as a trilogy. I don't want this to become a weekly thing. Can get a little bit tedious. But anyway, I'm done. Sorry, I've talked too much. Thank you ever so much for watching. Again, to my new subscribers, for all the comments, all the likes, all the conversations, which is much more important than anything else. Really appreciate the conversations. Keep it going. My fellow booktubers across the pond, this side of the pond, whatever side of the ponds you are, take lots of care. Spread the message, spread the love, and I'll see you next time. Bye.